The teeth are flared out a little bit on the side, and that just allows me to have some bite to it and drive the nail home. There were several times where I was hit in the face with these pieces of plastic, and they go up pretty high speeds.
Hey, what's happening? Barnaby here. So you want to know more about the Hitachi framing nailer? Well, I can tell you it takes nails from 2 to 3.5 inches long, 64 to 70 of them go into the magazine. They are plastic collated. We're going to talk to Josh about his thoughts on that, but it also has a flip fire switch, which will let you go from single to doing the bump. All right, but what we like to do with tools like this is put them into the hands of guys that really know what they're doing, talking about you, man, and have you tell us what you used it for, and in the course of that, your thoughts on the performance, the design, the quality, and the value. So first of all, what do you do in life?
I work for Dwayne Verkuyk Remodeling. We just remodel houses, do things like kitchens, windows, decks, things like that.
Okay, so what'd you use this guy for?
Several different things, but one of them is we had to replace the deck boards on a deck that was on an old farmhouse. And we used this to nail additional blocking onto the joists underneath the deck surface. So,
okay.
Yeah, and it worked really well. I was impressed with the lightweight design, and it always drove the nail in quite far. And so I was very impressed with the performance of this gun. But I had to do additional testing because I wanted to know if it could nail up LVL. I think anybody who frames houses for a living is curious, wants to know how well a nailer can nail up double LVL. Yeah. And if it had the power to do that. And it did that very well. I was very impressed with that.
Yeah, and I tell you what, therein lies the value of putting the tools into the hands of a tester with an imagination, right? It's like, well, what about this? And so we got to the bottom of that. So then let's talk about, well, the design of it. Take me from the front to the back and tell me all about it, including your take on plastic collation.
Okay, well, I'll start with the nose right here. I did like the nose of this, and this is an important piece of any framing nailer. A nose for a framing nailer that I'd like to use would have good bite to it, which means the teeth are sort of aggressive. And on this framing nailer, the teeth are flared out a little bit on the side, and that just allows me to get into a tight spot and have some bite to it and drive the nail home. So,
yeah. What about jamming? Did it jam on you at all?
It never jammed at all. So if it were to jam, you'd have to take this with an Allen wrench and take this out and flip this open and clear the jam that way. Okay. The next thing I liked about this was the way the exhaust came out of this air gun. There's some framing nailers where there's a dial that you can turn and adjust which way you think it won't hit you, but it never really points it away from you. It points it to the side, and inevitably it's going to hit you. But I never really got hit with the air on this one. It's designed to push the air away, to where you're shooting at. So I thought that was sort of neat. That was nice. Another thing that I liked about it was this trigger here. It has this switch here where you can switch it from single fire and then where you can bump it along. Just hold the trigger down and bump it. And that's a nice thing to have too. Most nail guns, you have to switch it within the trigger, and it takes a few minutes to do it. Yeah. And there's small parts that you can lose, and you have to push your fingers in there and try to get it all working out right. But this is just a simple switch, so that was nice. Another thing that this nail gun has is it has this dial right here where you can adjust the depth of drive. So instead of maybe turning the air pressure down on the air compressor or something like that, you just turn this dial and you can adjust the depth of drive depending on what you're working with.
Yeah. All right, well, let's talk about the collation. Because, there's all different types of ways to keep the nails together, paper, wire, plastic. What about your thoughts on that?
This had the plastic collated nails, and all that means is that the nails are held together with pieces of plastic. Sure. And every time you shoot a nail, the plastic, it doesn't just disappear. It goes somewhere, and it actually gets ejected from the gun and out, I guess, would be to my left. Yep. And there were several times where I was hit in the face with these pieces of plastic, and they go up pretty high speeds. Yeah. I was joking earlier that it comes with pieces with safety glasses, but it's almost like the nailer should come with a face shield because it hits you, and it hits you quite hard. Could be a safety issue, I'd think.
Right, and maybe a wool cap, because when you get done, it probably looks like a snowstorm.
Yeah, it does, and on the ground too. That's another bad thing about the plastic. On the ground, it's covered with these little pieces of white plastic all over the place that you got to pick up when you're done. So that's another negative thing about the plastic collation.
So this first time you've run plastic?
Yes. Yeah. Yep. And I don't like it.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, let's go on to the back side here and let's talk about loading them up because, you know, sometimes it's a little bit of finesse. Was this just an easy slide and jam?
Yeah, the way you load the nails is pretty standard. You see this on a lot of other nailers, but all you have to do is take them and slide them in, push them in, and then just slide this back behind the new nails that you just pushed in, and then as long as it catches, it's loaded.
Okay, so 64 to 70 nails. I mean, I guess you couldn't make the magazine that much longer. It'd just be kind of crazy if it got bigger. So is that enough?
Yeah, I thought so. That's the amount of nails that it held is pretty standard compared to other nailers. So
okay. Anything else you want to talk about as far as size of the head or on the backside, anything?
The size, I thought that was, you know, it could be a little bit smaller. There were there's a few times working up in rafters where you would like to have a smaller gun to get in there. But other than that, I thought that was okay.
Okay.
The thing that I thought was missing would be a rafter hook.
Yeah.
Several times I'd like to have, you know, set it somewhere convenient for me, like on a joist or something like that, and I just had to balance it or hold it or something like that. So rafter hook comes in handy.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is you know, one of those tools that's in the beginning stages of construction or in remodeling. It's getting, you know, out there just doing a lot of banging around. So what do you think about the quality of this? Do you think it's going to hold up over time?
Yeah, I do. Hitachi has a real good name as far as their air tools. They're very durable, very dependable, and I would expect the same thing from this nailer.
Okay. You don't think anything's going to break off as far as points that are critical that might be plastic or anything like that?
No, I thought it was all pretty good.
All right, well, then it comes down to the moment of truth, pulling the trigger, not on the nailer, but on the purchase, right? So let's talk about if you'd recommend this to somebody or not.
I don't think I would. I don't like the plastic nails. Based on the plastic nails, I wouldn't. Now, if somebody was in the market for a plastic nailer, if they liked it, then I would say, yeah, I think it's great. I thought it had exceptional value. The price compared to other framing nailers is considerably less.
Right.
So, I guess I would expect the performance not to be there if the price was less, but it wasn't. It was great. So.
If only it wasn't plastic.
Right. That's it.
Well, you know what? That's why they make all different sorts of tools for individual preferences, right? And so we put tools into the hands of testers so they can kind of help you figure out before you drop the dime whether this tool or any other is right for you. So tell all your friends about it. Toolselect.com.